School leaders debate the best ways to spend federal funding as they try to balance their budget.
Yeah, today the Sioux City Community School Board Finance and Facilities Committee held a meeting, and discussions were actually centered on budgeting for fiscal years 2023 and 2024. Now, committee members talked about ESSER funds. That's COVID-19 pandemic relief money that was given to school districts. They discussed how the remainder of that money should be allocated.
Today we did an update on the ESSER funds, which is the COVID money that we've received, a total of $59 million. There's a piece, $17 million that we're finalizing in 23, and then $38 million that will be finalized in 24.
Preliminary plans have the district under budget by nearly $440,000. After discussion of how much money was budgeted for future signing bonuses, the committee decided to place the surplus into the signing bonus budget. Greenwell acknowledged the importance of carefully examining how the money's spent.
It's taxpayer money, and watching every dollar that we spend of taxpayer money is something I take very seriously. Yes, we scrutinize the numbers very closely.
The budget has not received final approval from the school board, so the board will vote to approve or reject the budgets at an upcoming meeting.